Welcome to GreenViz Studio. I'm NextEra Rajendran, the net zero analyst here at GreenViz, and I'm excited to be speaking with Craig Stepien, Executive Director of Clean Energy Solutions at NextEra. Hi, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. I'm just going to go ahead and get into the questions that we're all wondering about. The first being, can you contextualize decarbonization and the economics behind a net zero economy?
Yeah, great question. And it's changed rapidly, right? If you look back 10 years ago versus 2 years ago versus 6 months ago, it's changed. But the things I would say is that there's been really three major drivers that have made renewable electricity the cheapest form of electricity in the United States, for sure. The first one's technology, right? We've seen absolute exponential improvements in solar, wind, and battery. Right? We all know that electric vehicles are a very popular thing, and that's helped the battery market a lot. That's the technology side. There's been some social and capital pressure, right, around the ESG movement and the fact that capital is rushing into sustainable investments. That's helped a lot of the sector. And then obviously government action. We just saw in the summer the largest Inflation Reduction Act, the largest climate regulation ever signed in U.S. history. And those three things come together to really make a pretty interesting time that makes renewables just the lowest cost form of energy.
Great. Thank you for that insight. And what is NextEra Energy's role in this?
Sure. Yeah, NextEra Energy is the world's largest producer of electricity from the wind and the sun. So obviously we have a big piece of this. We've been in this market for 30 years. So we were dipping our toe in piloting solar way before it was popular. And it's led to just tremendous growth of this industry. And now we're very proud to be standing at the pillar of a revolution, really, that's taking place as a decarbonization and the energy transition really starts to hit the world.
And speaking of the energy transition, do you work directly with companies who want to decarbonize, and how does that work?
We do. We have three main goals, right? One is decarbonize ourselves. And so we have a goal to go to real zero, which I'll explain that in a second, by 2045. It is not a net number. Everybody's heard of net zero. We're going to real zero, which means not emitting carbon at all, not just offsetting it. And so that's a moonshot for us. We want to show the world that it can be done by moving off of fossil fuels into really renewable energy. That's number one. Number two, we have been and will continue to help utilities green up their fleets and go to renewables. And then third and last is we have an ambition to decarbonize the U.S. economy. And that's a really newer one. It's very exciting to see the Fortune 1000 and other, even private companies set really ambitious targets to be net zero by 2030 or by 2050. And we think we can really help them achieve those goals, right? It's very hard to do that if that's not your core business. It is our core business to run renewables, and we're here to help companies achieve those goals that they have.
What advice would you give customers who want to take the first steps towards decarbonization? And can you share an example of a company on the path to success?
We see customers all along the journey of decarbonizing, right? We see some folks that have been doing it for 10 years and are really at the forefront, and they're setting even more ambitious goals than just net zero. And it's amazing to see that. And those customers, we're here to help them. They speak a very common language. There's not a lot of education that's needed. It's really about how do I get more renewables in the ground to continue offsetting my fossil fuel. That's what I'll call a leader in the industry. I'll go to the other end of the spectrum. You get some folks that are new to the industry. They've said, wow, this is really important. My stakeholders, whether they're shareholders, capital investors, customers, have shared with me that decarbonizing is important to them. And they don't know where to get started. We can help there too. I think for that team or the folks that are in that area, it's really about getting a baseline of what your emissions are today. It's getting educated on what solutions can help them decarbonize, and then really start studying what is the first step versus the 10th step versus the 50th step, right? A lot of people don't know what that is. And so I highly encourage reaching out to experts like NextEra and like others that can help you look at that roadmap, build a roadmap, and then start executing immediately, because I believe there are immediate steps that can do what we call the triple bottom line. It can save money, it can help reduce inflation risk, and it can make you green and be decarbonized. And so those solutions exist today. Companies are leaving money on the table if they don't take them now. And then, of course, there's going to be continued evolution of this market that allow you to do things that aren't possible today in 10 years from now.
Well, Craig, thank you so much for giving us an inside look into NextEra Energy's process and goals. We really appreciate you being here. And to our audience, you just heard from Craig Stepien, the Executive Director of Clean Energy Solutions at NextEra Energy.